Hey everyone, you know that sound? You hear it in movies and video games, probably scrolling through TikTok. But how did this wooden box with some strings, become an absolute legend? Well, today we're going to unlock the violin's epic origin story. No, seriously, just think about it for a second. That sound is everywhere. But here's the thing. It wasn't some overnight viral hit. Not at all. This instrument has been on an absolutely epic 400-year-long quest to get to the top.
All right, so let's get into it. Our hero's journey, the violin's quest, kicks off way back in the Baroque era. And you can totally think of this as the training level, you know? It's where the violin first learned its basic moves and started to figure out its special powers.
So, in this training level, the violin gets its first big solo mission. It's called the concerto. And composers like this guy, Corelli, they basically wrote the first walkthrough for it. They laid out all these super quick, super agile, and really complex moves that, get this, every single violinist still has to master to this day.
Okay, so once our hero mastered the basics, it was time to level up. Because now, it had to face some of music's biggest, baddest bosses.
First up, boss number one, Vivaldi. And he came at the violin with this brand new style called program music. Basically, it's like writing a movie soundtrack, but there's no movie. He was pushing the violin to its absolute limits, making it imitate everything, from birds singing to like these super intense winter storms in his most famous piece, The Four Seasons.
But the final boss of this era, the one that completely changed the game, that was Johann Sebastian Bach. And man, he gave the violin its most difficult, most mind-bending challenge yet.
So check this out. Normally, a violin plays one melody at a time, right? Simple enough. But Bach was like, nah, that's too easy. I want you to play multiple melody lines and harmony lines all at the same time on just one violin. It's kind of nuts when you think about it.
So you can imagine, mastering Bach's music became the ultimate skill test. It's like playing a co-op video game by yourself, trying to control two different characters with just one controller. It was so insanely hard that for years after he died, it was like this secret impossible level that almost nobody could beat. So, after defeating all the Baroque bosses and proving just how technically skilled it was, the violin's whole personality started to shift. It wasn't just about showing off complex moves anymore. Now, it was about finding its voice.
And you can really see that shift right here. The violin goes from that super complicated, fancy style of the Baroque to this really clean, elegant vibe in the classical era with guys like Mozart, and then bam, it just explodes into this huge, super emotional and dramatic voice during the Romantic era with Beethoven.
So yeah, during that middle phase, the classical period, composers like Mozart were all about the violin's singing quality. It became the clear leader of this new thing called the string quartet. And you can think of that like a small musical group chat, you know, where every voice matters, but the first violin is kind of the one leading the conversation.
All right, but hold on, because in the 19th century, things got absolutely wild. The violin didn't just get emotional, it became a full-blown, legit rock star. This was the age of the superstar performer.
Yeah, this was the era of the virtuoso, which is just a fancy word for a musician with, like, almost superhuman skills. The pro gamer, the star athlete of the music world. And the biggest, most legendary superstar of them all, it was this guy, Niccolo Paganini. This dude, Paganini, basically invented new techniques that were so completely next level, people were convinced he was using cheat codes. I mean, he could pluck the strings with the same hand that was pressing the notes down, and he could create these super high-pitched, kind of eerie whistling sounds called harmonics. It was so insane that people literally whispered that he must have made a deal with the devil to be able to play like that.
So, okay, after becoming this massive rock star, what's the next challenge? How did our hero stay famous and not just become some washed-up celebrity? Well, it's simple, really. It adapted. It learned how to survive in a world that was changing fast.
First off, it started learning to speak new languages. Composers all across Europe began using their own country's folk music to give the violin a totally unique voice. So you had it sounding like folk dances from the Czech Republic, or capturing the rugged landscapes of Norway, or even the icy, dark vibe of a Finnish winter. And then it had to survive the pure chaos of the 20th century. Music got way more intense. It became sharp, super rhythmic, sometimes even really aggressive. There were times the violin was played less like a singer and more like a drum, you know, reflecting the noise and the speed of modern city life.
But here's maybe the biggest plot twist of all.
The violin's main stage today? It's not the fancy concert hall. Nope, it's in the movies you watch and the video games you play. And that audience is absolutely massive. It's where the violin is still a total superstar.
I mean, just think about it. The violin has this insane power to play with our emotions. One minute, it can sound incredibly lonely and sad, making you really feel for a character. The next, it's building this massive, heart-pounding tension that has you literally on the edge of your seat. Composers like the legendary John Williams are absolute masters at this. They use the violin to make you feel exactly what they want you to feel, reaching millions and millions of people who might never go to a classical concert.
So, after this whole 400-year journey, what's the single most important message? It's this. The violin became a legend because it never, ever stood still. It was always evolving, always leveling up, taking on new challenges, and always finding new ways to tell our stories.
And that's its epic quest, so far, which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. This instrument has been reinventing itself for 400 years. So, what do you think its next level up is going to be? Thanks for watching.